This was one of our best days of 2025.
It was also one of our worst days of 2025.
I'm TK.
And I'm Earl.
Let's check out the park.
Texas!
To kick off our trip through Texas, we stayed in Van Horn RV Park.
Van Horn is right off of I-10 in southwestern Texas, close to where it meets New Mexico.
This park is also part of a mobile park, right?
Mobile home park, yep.
We drove past a bunch of mobile homes, and it was at the end, and you turned in to the right to get to the office. The office staff was really nice.
Oh, totally.
We did have some confusion because when we first booked, I called first, and my last name is different from Earl's last name, and we didn't hear back for a while, so then he called, and he got it booked. So we didn't realize they had actually gone ahead and booked us. We never got confirmation. So we were booked twice, and that caused some confusion when we first got there, but they were really cool and got it fixed really quickly.
Yeah, the lady was really nice about everything and checked with her manager and the person who took the reservation on the previous time and got everything all squared away, and
super nice.
All worked out in the end.
The office is connected to a shop. You can purchase some things for fun or that you need there.
Convenience items like food and stuff too. And it's also connected to a restaurant, which doesn't look like it was open while we were there. And there's a little gaming cafe right in between too, so they have a bunch of like slot machines set up and there are people in there playing them.
Actually, everything's in that building. They have the men's and women's bathrooms on the bottom floor. There is a second floor with a recreation meeting room type place that we just completely missed.
Yeah, it was listed on the sheet, but I guess we just overlooked it, and I didn't get any footage of that, unfortunately. But right below that was the laundry room, and they had like a little bookshelf there for books, and I think a few movies were right there too.
They have a pool there that's open May through September. They have a playground, horseshoes, they can do propane. What else?
There's a pond in the back too, and some cool like old Western style buildings that were back there, and even like a stage which they may have for putting on productions or something.
Also, they had a dog park.
So it was nice letting Bowser run around in there for a while. He always enjoys doing that, but it was like super windy while we were there. And so like seeing like the wind like blow his face, like his facial hair back and everything was real funny. Our site had plenty of room. It was a decent sized spot. And they had water, sewer, and electric right there for us. Always a go-to. And aside from the wind, this was a decent stay.
Well, you said you never want to come back through this area.
Oh,
again.
yeah, because the wind is just terrible. Because it is like quite a huge dust bowl.
Earl said we're never coming back this way again.
Unfortunately. So
we'll see. We'll see what happens with the world and the weather.
Yeah. But I mean,
we had a rough night.
Yeah.
The winds were shaking the RV to the point where we had trouble sleeping.
Yeah, and I think it was like 75 mile per hour wind gusts. So it was shaking pretty good. And what we ended up doing was I put some extra water in our fresh water tank to make sure to add some extra weight. And also we made sure to use the showers, so we had all of that water in our gray tank for the shower to make sure it weighed everything down too. So like we're like, fingers crossed we don't go anywhere, but it was quite an ordeal with those winds.
Did we actually do that, or did we just talk about doing it?
I did that. Yeah. I do things you don't even know. You don't even know about. You don't even know to appreciate.
So the reason I loved this day is because we really got to poke around and learn a little bit about the surrounding area. The actual downtown Van Horn is semi-ghost town.
Ghost town. Ghost town.
There are a few neat places open that we stayed at. There is not much the way of shopping. We went, I think, to a dollar store the first night to grab a couple snacks.
Mm-hmm.
And we asked them where you can get like food. We're like, where do you find produce? And they were like, not even sure. They're like, Lowe's? And I was confused. I'm like, the hardware store? So no, there's actually a grocery store in this area called Lowe's. And that's where we went on a different day to actually get groceries. Pricier because it's a small town.
Yeah.
So harder to get stuff probably. So something to keep in mind. It's fun to visit small towns, but it can get pricier because you don't have as much convenience.
Farther away from more of like civilization.
So far away from civilization.
So it's, I mean, it is right on I-10, so it isn't that hard to get to, but things were a little bit pricier than we're used to.
Yeah. We like to find a restaurant in the area, and we found Cactus Cantina and Grill.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few places that had some good reviews, so there are some places to eat. That's a local favorite, though, I think.
Yeah.
And a Blue Origin favorite.
Yeah,
supposedly.
a lot of workers from Blue Origin, it seemed, were in there, like, right when they opened up, too. I mean, we got there...
Like 6:15, it opened at 6, I think.
Yeah, and the place was already packed.
We got pizza.
Which was good.
Yeah, it was a good pizza. We got a good sampler.
Mm-hmm.
Which had onion rings, of course.
Always gotta get onion rings.
Mott sticks. And Southwest egg rolls. Both got a drink. And, yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
The waiter was awesome. The interior was kind of neat. So we'd definitely go back.
Mm-hmm.
But we absolutely loved, or I absolutely loved, Boots and Scoots ice cream. How about you?
Yeah, it was good. Very good.
The ice cream was fantastic. I think it was homemade.
Yeah.
The interior was adorable. And they even had some games that you could play while you were there. They had a display case with some fun things from a local seller. Just all around really adorable spot. And I don't know, some of the ice cream places we've gone to have been the most fun places we've gone to, I think.
I think so.
We definitely have to keep going to ice cream shops. We'll have to keep looking those up.
And we were busting a gut on this game that we found called Live, Laugh, Lose.
We're thinking about buying it.
The jokes that they were telling were just like top-notch dad jokes.
Yes. We have a few of them here. The only real thing to do downtown is visit the Clark Hotel Museum. And it's not open all the time. At first I thought we were just not going to be able to get in, and I was really upset because I'd seen it mentioned on the website. The website for the RV park does mention things in the area that you can go to. It gives you some suggestions, and this was one of them. But I went on the website and it said you could contact them to try to set up a tour. So thank goodness we did. Someone got back to us pretty quickly, and we had a nice tour.
Mm-hmm. The
inside is still a work in progress. There's starting to do some renovations. It costs money. They don't have a lot of money. But some of the stuff in there is pretty old, pretty neat. There are petroglyphs in the area.
Yeah.
We were asking Dan, the person who let us in, and he's part of the Historical Society, I think, also the local newspaper. We're asking him questions, and he was telling us some interesting things. I guess the petroglyphs, there's a whole section devoted to them in the back, are now on private land. So unfortunately you can't see them, but you can see them in the museum. They have some rooms up above. I think, because I was reading old reviews, that maybe there is like some old furniture and stuff, but again, like the rooms are kind of falling apart, so we didn't get to see that. We got to see some local quinceañera type stuff upstairs. What else did we see in there? There was downstairs, there was some old furniture and...
Yeah, and a lot of stuff related to the Old West.
So that was pretty neat. And he was telling us a lot about Blue Origin because he's been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they invited some people out for the launch, so we got to hear a little bit about that. Let us know if you want to know any more about that.
And it would be super nice if Blue Origin put some more money into Van Horn and contributed to the museum, because I guess there was like the initial push in Van Horn with everything with Blue Origin, but now it's kind of like fizzled out.
I think people in Van Horn thought that the town was going to get a nice boost because of the proximity and because some people who work at Blue Origin do live in town. But no, that did not happen, which is similar to the town of Valentine, which we'll talk about in a minute. So anyway, we had a really good experience at the museum. Dan was super awesome, and we hope they continue to build on what they've been doing there and continue their history.
Pretty much the only spot we found for hiking was up in Guadalupe Mountains National Park. We have our National Parks Pass, so we love getting to use that. And on the way there, we passed Blue Origin, so we actually got to see, like, you know, basically just the gates of their facility. Everything else was like way out in the distance, so we didn't get to see all that, but we like stopped and took a quick picture of the gates and drove off because we didn't want them thinking like we were up to anything.
It was like an hour away, I think, right? 45 minutes to an hour?
Yeah. And Guadalupe Mountains National Park is really nice.
Yeah, this was our second time stopping. The first time we only had enough time to go to the visitor center and do a little loop by the visitor center, which was nice, but this time we actually hiked a trail.
Yeah. I think where we were going, like, of course we have to limit our time there because of Bowser. We gotta get back for him.
And work.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to work. Yeah.
So we're always trying to squeeze
Work.
things in. But it was a really nice hike, and we got down into like a wash, and we're like, are we in the right spot? And we did. We came up with, like, there were some man-made spots which would like help you determine that you're on the right path. So really cool hike. We enjoyed it there.
There are some serious hikes that I think we have to come back for at some point.
Yeah.
Like kind of up a mountain. We were interested in going back to Valentine. If you've seen some of our previous videos, if you've been around with us for a while, you may have seen that this was our third time in the area. And the first two times we happened to be in the town of Valentine.
On Valentine's Day.
On Valentine's Day. The first time we didn't even know this town existed. We were driving through this town on Valentine's Day trying to escape a blizzard.
What blizzard? It's a couple of flakes.
So we've got...
Which we failed. We did not
failed
escape the
terribly,
blizzard.
but we were safe. I've fallen a little bit in love with this space.
It's a nice area.
It's a nice area, and the second time we drove into Valentine, we got to meet some of the people who are trying to revitalize the town. We haven't seen them for 2 years, so we came back and saw them again this time. They weren't there, but we got to talk to the lady at the post office. She was super sweet. And it sounds like the town's not really growing anymore, which is sad.
Yeah.
We got the feeling the previous time that people were starting to move in, you know, art was starting to happen, small businesses, Blue Origin is close by, so gotta get in while it's good and build up while it's building. And people have said that maybe Marfa has had that nice revitalization experience, but Valentine, no. As we said, Van Horn, no. So we were a little bit sad, but we still got to see some of the spots we saw before. We went to the Valentine bar. Again, super nice guy. we buzzed the buzzer, and I think...
He was in Poland?
Yeah, he was out of town, but he's like, yeah, there's some guys in the back, just let him know. And I just forgot his name. I hope we made a note of that somewhere. It was something funny. Like Grumpy or
the something guy.
Dumpster?
The dumpster guy or something like that.
Yeah, Dr. Dump. I don't remember what his name was. It was really cute, and so we...
Professor Dumpster.
Professor Dumpster?
It was Professor Dumpster.
I think we got it. And we just took some nice shots. They have some, I think on Valentine's Day is when they tend to have like a big party, but they are open randomly, I guess, and there's a for hire sign outside, and have a really good time. So we were hoping that they'd be open while we were there, but they weren't.
But we did continue down to Marfa
for the
to
first
check
time.
that out. Yep, haven't been to Marfa yet. And we stopped at a location that mentioned the Marfa Lights.
I've never heard of this before. Have you guys?
Me neither. So let us know if you've heard of the Marfa Lights, because this is something that was new to us. And apparently...
Totally up his alley.
Yeah, very up my alley. It's a thing on King of the Hill. It's a thing on The Simpsons.
Over there are the Marfa Lights.
And...
mentioned in songs.
Yeah, and so these lights are out on the horizon and nobody can figure out where they're coming from. Some people think it's like lights from cars off of one of the roads, but it goes way back into even...
the late 1800s, I think.
Yeah, to where there wouldn't be car headlights. So who knows what they are.
Native Americans, ancient Native Americans had stories about them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff.
So we stopped at the spot where you can observe them, but it's random when they show up, and we weren't there at night, so...
yeah.
We'll probably have to stay in Marfa to actually get a better experience.
We did see some other cool things in Marfa, which the laying down guy made of shipping containers.
That's kind of cool.
Really goofy. You know what this town needs? Shipping containers that are laid out like a person laying down taking a nap. There they are. And then we had lunch at Angel's Restaurant. Pretty good food. The salsa was amazing.
Salsa was really good. I was like, we need more.
Yeah. And like, I guess they're kind of known for their tacos. Unfortunately, I wasn't impressed with their beef tacos. It wasn't really seasoned all that much. It was kind of bland. But everything else was delicious. I think you got that burrito.
I got a burger.
A burger.
I'm sorry. I'm picturing it in my head.
Yeah. Oh.
You had the enchilada.
The enchilada,
platter.
which also came with the taco.
Yes.
Yeah, and so like the taco was, like I said, kind of mid. And then the enchilada was good though.
Enchilada was good. The burger was pretty good.
Yeah. So
Good fries.
yeah, good place to eat if you're in the Marfa area, and it's a nice artsy town. We definitely recommend checking that place out. And on the way back from there is when we really encountered all of the wind, because there were dust devils. I'm like, oh hey, look, a dust devil. That's neat. Oh look, another dust devil.
There were a lot.
What are the odds of that? There are 5 dust devils on the horizon.
I think we drove through one, right?
And we drove through one, like a bigger one. And then just after that, it was nothing but wind and nothing but dust and sand.
And then we remembered that we had left some windows open in the RV.
That's right, we did. And came back and had a layer of sand on my laptop.
Red sand. Thankfully, it wasn't bad enough for the pets.
Yeah, but it was still getting in, I guess, like along the sides, the slide outs. So we had a little bit down there.
We had to vacuum it up and
Yep.
sweep up.
So fun times.
And that was a day before the bad winds that we had.
Yeah, the day before the really bad winds. Like stuff was starting to whip up with the dust devils and everything. And then like the really bad 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts happened. We also love stopping to see historical markers along our routes.
That's why another reason why I really loved this day, because we just explored so much history. Some of it is pretty sad. One of the things we saw were the Van Horn Wells. We also saw the historical marker on the Port Rainier massacre, and I had absolutely no idea this had happened. These are things we don't learn about in school.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons I'm so glad that we have this opportunity to travel and be in these small towns and go across the US. Because these communities have all these stories that we just never get to hear.
Yeah.
Usually when you're in school, your school
learn
focuses on your city, maybe your state.
And you have like the major events in history, but nothing
Yeah.
about like slaughter of Native Americans, for example, or slaughter of Mexicans by the Texas Rangers.
I barely knew anything about the Texas Rangers. I still don't know very much. I could definitely do my own research, but I was just blown away. And then I think there's a power behind a marker being there, like it happened here.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going into an old house or a historical building. You're part of history, where
Yeah.
it's so different than being in a book or even a movie, I would say. So I particularly was horrified, but also enjoyed getting to learn about what had happened in the area.
So that wraps up our stay at Van Horn RV Park in the town of Van Horn, Texas.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And if we missed something, drop it in the comments.
Let us know of anything else to do in the Van Horn area. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching, and have a great day.
You had to make it longer.
I did.
You had to make it longer.
And if you appreciate our video, please leave
That's
a
me.
like. Okay.
We are going to get the cat.
Incoming link.
Here he comes to wreck the play.
Here, mind if I just squeeze in here between you two?
Oh my gosh, cat, just
How
make
about
yourself
right
at home.
there?
Time to do my thing.
I don't know.
No, that's good. Just it's a long pause. Is it also connected to laundry?
It's also connected to the wishbone.
What's the wishbone? What?
Wishbone's connected
Is there
to
something
the...
else that's connected to?
Next time we get really high winds or something, I'll be like, how to survive really high winds in an RV?